Runners are dedicated to their sport. Some runners make the sport their lifestyle. Ultra-marathon runner David Euler recently ran a 100-mile race. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, right after you say someone ran a 100-mile race, the next question everybody has is, why on earth would you run 100 miles?
I've always been fascinated, I guess, with human endurance, and I wanted to really test my limits physically, and I thought a 100-mile race would be a really good test.
Well, it's probably, you've probably ran a marathon, obviously, before you ran did 100 miles. What's the biggest difference between the two?
I really think it's the fueling in an ultra-marathon. I mean, you really got to keep up on your food intake, your fluids. You got to eat often. Obviously, you're burning a lot of calories in a 100-mile race, so eating and fueling and just it really becomes mental after 50 miles. So a lot of it's just not physical, it's just mental toughness and not giving up. That's a big part of it.
Sure. Well, how do you train for something like this?
A lot of it is similar to what you would train in a marathon program, although ultra programs normally have a lot of back-to-back long runs on the weekends. So you're training your body to run on tired legs. You might do like a long run Saturday, a long run Sunday to sort of simulate how you would feel in like a race. So that's a lot of the training, a lot of higher mileage runs, longer runs. You're
training and getting towards the race day. I mean, is there a part where you're like, maybe I don't want to do this?
Yeah, I think the grind of the training sometimes is really as tough as the race itself, just getting out there and knowing you got a long run ahead of you. But I really have been pretty fortunate about being able to put it off in my mind and not really think about it till the day before the race is when the anxiety sort of sits in a little bit.
Well, and I've talked to marathoners before, and they have these specific points where, oh, this mile was just a killer for me. And what about your 100-mile race? What was after the first mile, 26th mile, 50th mile, do you remember certain points that were tough?
Yeah, there was some tough points at about mile 67 is when it really started getting tough. The temperatures really dropped and we weren't expecting it. So our muscles were, we were tired and our muscles got cold. And at that time, you're actually moving fairly slow since you've already ran 60-some miles.
Yeah.
That was tough. There's a lot of ups and downs. A lot of, you hit a lot of walls, but you got to know if you keep running, you're going to come out of it. And that's really big. Just the determination to keep going is.
And we just saw some pictures of you. That was actually a 100K race, not a 100-mile race. But what do you think about on these long treks?
I actually don't think about a whole lot. I sort of try to break it down by aid station to aid station instead of focus on running 100. I know a lot of these stations are like 10 miles apart, so just getting to the next aid station and then, just focusing on small goals and, take it that way. That's the only way a guy can do it.
Well, you talked about fuel at the beginning here, and how do you fuel your body specifically when you're going through this long process?
Yeah, when training, I like to try to find foods that will work. Everyone's different. That standard energy goos and Gatorades and water are good for marathons, but when you run a 100-mile race, you got to actually put real food in your body because you're burning a lot of calories.
So while you're racing, you're eating things?
Yes, cookies, potato chips. I even had a couple shots of Coke and baked potatoes, peanut butter sandwiches.
It doesn't sound absolutely healthy either, the stuff you're eating. What's the point of them?
Anything that's going to be instant energy is what you're looking for. And probably like a cheesecake would be really good.
Wow.
Because you want to get that calories in you, you want the energy.
Well, how long did it take you to finish?
Yeah, it was like 26 hours and some change on the race I ran.
Okay, 26 hours. Now that's non-stop, right?
Yeah, other than stopping to refuel, you get back on the trail within 4 or 5 minutes and keep rolling, yeah.
No sleeping in between?
No.
All right. Well, your brother actually ran in this race with you,
yep.
Correct?
Yeah.
And he passed out.
Yeah, mile 75, he really bonked out. I noticed him weaving all over the trail, and he was sort of, basically, he wasn't even really coherent. We got him back to the aid station, and
wow.
His lips were turning blue because he got really cold, and he basically, it was pretty amazing. He was basically running with nothing left, just on will.
Is that common for these races?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the finishing rates, obviously, on a lot of these 100-mile races are fairly low. 70% is, pretty probably popular finishing percentage.
Well, I got to ask you quickly, are you ready to do this again?
Yeah, I got one I'm looking at in April, the Zumbro 100 in Thielman, Minnesota, southeast of the cities, and then a couple that I got sort of on the bubble for next summer again.
Wow.
So,
and one last question, if you had one tip to give somebody who wants to do this, what would it be?
I just think it's all, I mean, you just got to believe in yourself, you know. If you're willing to get out there and get a good base and you're strong mentally, a big part of it's just going out there and believing in yourself. And
well, you must believe in yourself a lot. Thanks so much for coming on the show today. It was great talking to you.